Hello and welcome back to Phil's Drone Zone, and welcome to part 3 of Learning Piece by Piece, the beginner's guide to working in motion. Today we are going to be looking at animating lines and outlines. And if you're a first-time visitor here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so that you can stay updated for future videos in the series. Okay, let's get straight on with it and let's begin with our background. Okay, so I've made a new group and I'm going to go to generators and I'm going to look for gradient, and we're going to drag the gradient into our new group. Then we're going to open up the controls for the gradient. I'm going to choose a preloaded one, Chrome. Okay, so the easiest way now is to right click on the screen and select edit position. This will bring up these controls, the slider set of controls, and you can just drag this around however much you want. You can use these little tabs to alter the size and shapes of the gradients, and you can just have a really good play here. I'm just going to change that color in the middle from white. I just want it a little bit less bright in the middle. So we'll find a little color. You can play with these to your heart's content. And then we will continue playing with that a little bit. Just shorten that down a little bit. And just continue playing until you're happy. I want to change the color at the end. It's a little dark, so I'm going to lighten the color at the end. And something like that. Okay, and then we'll call our background done. Now a line is just a shape, and you can animate a line exactly the same way as a shape. You can rotate it on X and Y and on its Z parameter. You can move its position, animate scale, and animate opacity, exactly the same as you animate any ordinary shape. Okay, so let's just see how we do that. Let's create a new group, and then we're going to go to the library shapes, and we're just going to select the 5-pointed star, and we're going to drag that into our canvas. In the inspector, we're going to decrease the scale a tad, and then we're going to go to the shape, turn off the fill, add an outline, change the color. We're going to give it a nice red color here. Okay, so let's close that up, and we're going to increase the width to around about 12, I guess, so we can see it. And then we're going to right click on it and duplicate that. And then we're going to just go in and change the color. We'll give that one a nice yellow. And again, we are going to go in and duplicate, and we'll make this one green. Again, right click, duplicate, and we'll make this one a nice blue, and then finally duplicate again, and we'll have a nice hot pink to finish up. So we got 5 stars, one on top of the other. Okay, so we'll select the second star and we'll increase its increment by 20%. So now we're going up to 100. The third one, again 20% up to 120. The fourth one up 20% again, 140. And the last one, the pink one, we're going to make 160. So now we've got 5 stars, all different sizes. Okay, so let's animate them. Let's go to our first one, and then we'll jump in 10 frames, press I on the keyboard to set its in point. Move forward another 10 frames, highlight the second one, and then I on the keyboard again. Third one in 10 frames, I on the keyboard. Fourth one, same as before, and the fifth one in 10 frames, I on the keyboard to set its in point. Then we're going to move forward 30 frames, and we're going to keyframe the pink star, move forward 10 frames, and drag the star out of the canvas on the scale. Okay, now we'll move down to the second one and do exactly the same. Keyframe, move forward 10 frames, and on the scale drag it out so it's off the canvas. And we're going to continue doing this. Keyframe, move forward 10 frames on the scale, drag the shape out of the canvas. And we're going to continue doing that until all of them are done. Forward 10 frames and then drag the scale up so that it disappears off the canvas. And the final one, the red original star, keyframe, move forward 10 frames and then drag it out of the canvas. Okay, so now you've created a really nice animation just with very simple keyframes. Okay, in the last tutorial we talked about the importance of the anchor point. Well, let's have another little demonstration. Okay, so you can see I have drawn a line, a vertical line, and it has a little red dot at the bottom. Kind of like a needle type thing. Okay, so let's go to shape, and you can see I've set the start cap to arrow and the end cap to square. Now what I want to do is I want the needle to rotate back and forth like you see on a dial. And I need to do that on the Z parameter. But if I move it on the Z parameter, that's not the effect that I'm looking for. So the problem, once again, I'll just reset that. The problem that I have once again is the anchor point. So I need to adjust the anchor point. So I'll go to the transform tools and select anchor point. Now I'll zoom in so I can see what I'm actually doing. And then I'll grab the arrow and drag the anchor point down to the end, the bottom end of my needle. Okay, and then go back to fit. And now when I rotate it on Z, now I've got the effect that I'm looking for. Now this is like, once you create something like this, your imagination runs riot. So I've just had an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my transform tool, and I'm now going to animate the needle on Z. So I will keyframe on the first frame, and I'm going to keyframe that one at -60. Okay, and so we've changed the position of the needle. Then I'm going to go forward 10 frames. And we're going to have the needle going back and forth a little bit. So this one I'm going to turn about -49, something like that. And then we'll go forward again, 10 frames. And this one, then I'll keyframe in maybe -57, something like that. Go forward another 10 frames. And then keyframe this one at about -48, something like that. And then what I've got already is the needle just like bouncing back and forth. So I'm going to keyframe the whole of the animation. I'll do that and then I'll be right back once all the keyframes are in. Okay, so now as you can see, I've keyframed at 10 frame intervals, with the exception of one which I've done at 30 frames, and you'll see why in a second. And I've got this little animation of the needle. And I'm thinking dials, rev counters, I'm thinking radios, thinking infographics. And while I popped out there to finish, I created a little background. Just a very quick 5-minute job, just to give you some idea of the things that you can create once you let your imagination go in motion. If I'd spent a little bit more time on it, it obviously would be a lot better. Okay, so now let's have a look at this statement, a line isn't just a shape. Well, it is a shape, but it can do a little bit more than what a shape can do. A shape doesn't have a start and an end point. A line, obviously because it's a line, and an outline has a beginning and an end. And we can animate lines and outlines on these beginning and end points. So I've got a group and I've created a line and duplicated it a couple of times. So let's have a look what we can do with these start and end points. And you'll find the controls in the outline section of the shape. So first off, the start and end cap I'm going to set to square, and then underneath you can see the first point offset and the last point offset. Well, if I drag the last point offset, you can see that way I can move it in as type moves in. So I will set that to 0, and then I will keyframe, move forward 50 frames and set it back to 100. Then move forward 20 frames and keyframe at the current position, and then forward another 50 frames and I'll drag it back to 0. Now I've created a very simple line in animation. I'm using the same text for all these animations. Okay, now let's have a look at a different way of doing it, animating from the center. Okay, so I will go and to my first point offset and my last point offset, and I will type in 50% on both and keyframe both. And then I'm going to move forward 50 frames, and then I will drag the first point back to 0 and the last point to 100. Move forward 20 frames, keyframe at the current position, move forward 50, and then I will drag, and then I will type in 50 and 50 on both. And we've created an animation that starts in the center and it comes back and disappears in the center. Okay, well, there's lots of different things that you can do. One of my favorites is what I call the rebound. And let's just quickly go through what we do to create the rebound. So I got my first and last point offsets, and I'm going to keyframe at 0 on the last point offset. Then move forward 10 frames and keyframe the first point offset at 10%. Move forward 40 frames and drag both and keyframe both at 100%. Then I will move forward, move forward, say 30 frames, and I'll just drag back on the first point offset back to 0. And now I've created my little rebound effect, which I kind of like. It's quite cute. So play around with these offset points and you can create all sorts of unusual and weird and wonderful things. And the final way to create a line is to draw one. So let's just click on our Bezier tool and we'll make some points on the canvas. I don't know, we'll just go over here and go down, and we'll make that the last one. Then hit return on the keyboard and then go to the inspector and uncheck the fill and play with the outline, just increase the outline a little bit. And so you've created a little line. You can do exactly the same thing as we did with our lines using the first and last point offsets, and we can animate on our Bezier line. So using the Bezier tool, you can create and animate a line that isn't a straight line. And we'll look at this a little bit more in the next tutorial. Rectangles also have a start and an end point, and we can use our first and last point offsets in exactly the same way. And you can have the rectangle come in clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on which one you select. Have a play around. I'll use the last point offset and keyframe at 0. Then move forward 50 frames and keyframe at 100%. Move forward 20, set the keyframe to the current position, and then move forward another 50 and set it back down to 0. And now I've created this animation that you see a lot in titles, with the rectangle coming in and out with the text. Okay, so the second thing that we can do is create a little corner effect. And the secret to the little corner effect is to start at the end. So I'll move in 50 frames to where I want it to end. And then I will go, and the first thing I'll do is set the end cap to square and the start capped square. And then you need to play around until you've got, using the first and last offset points, until you've got the corner showing, and then keyframe both of them. Go back to the beginning of the animation and then play around until, in this case, the last point offset until the animation disappears, and then you've created the little corner. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate and then go to properties, and I'm going to, on the rotation, on the X parameter minus 180, and on the Y parameter minus 180. And so what I've done is I've created the same corner on the other side. And now we've got a nice little corner effect, which I've seen used quite a lot. And you can animate any shape from the library, turn it into an outline, and you can animate these in any of the ways that we've seen for the rectangle. And you can get some nice little effects by doing this. And you can do exactly the same thing with circles. Circles also have a start and an end point, and you can use the last point and end point offsets to animate circles. But a circle has one extra property. So let's draw in a circle, and now we will change the end cap and the start cap to none. And then basically we will increase the width. And now when you can see I get exactly the same type of effect using these points as I did previously. But here's the secret. If I now drag out the width, increase the width, then the hole in the center starts to disappear. So I'll drag it out until, very slowly, until the hole in the center has disappeared. And now it looks like I've got a solid. So if I go to properties, it behaves like a solid. And I can decrease the scale a little bit. And now let's go back to the outline controls, and if we drag on the first or last point offsets, then I get this kind of effect. And this can be really cool when you mix it up with outlines of different widths, circles of different widths, and you can create all sorts of fantastic things. So play around with these and see what you can create just using circles of different shapes and sizes, colors, and just see what you can come up with, and you'll be amazed at what you can actually produce. And so that's your assignment for this tutorial. Play around with shapes and outlines and lines, and try and create as many titles and lower thirds that you can. You have a lot of information now, and so you're probably going to be able to create some amazing things now. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I will answer them, I promise, as soon as I possibly can. If you liked the video, please give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be updated as soon as future videos in the series are uploaded. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and all that remains to be said now is see you in the next video.